Grahame, Janet described to us the terrible injuries that the young otter Tarkina had. How did she survive them?
Well, she almost didn't. She was consuming about a 16th of the food per day that had to keep her alive because she could hardly breathe. Any attempt to increase the food, she would have gulped while she was sucking a bottle and drowned on the spot. So it was a very, very delicate business. She was fed to the minute every 2 hours, day and night, with these tiny, tiny quantities of food. And she just kept ticking until the lungs recovered.
But for this treatment, you had to get her back here from, where was it, Skye?
Yes, she was flown down in a chartered aircraft the second we heard that she'd been found and the man described roughly her injuries. We realised time was very short.
Ah, so this is the little cabin club here, is it? Ah.
And she came to Luton Airport, where we were waiting on the tarmac with a hot bottle and everything else. And literally within seconds of the plane touching down, she was having her first bottle feed, which looked good. I mean, she fed well that one time, but then we noticed she could barely breathe, and then we sped off to the vet, and she was x-rayed, and then the terrible saga that Janet has described was suddenly shown on the x-rays. I mean, everything was broken and injured. Awful.
Is she fully recovered now?
I think she is. The injury to the spine has totally vanished. We had her x-rayed very recently, and you can't even see it. The lungs, which were nearly the end of her, recovered within days, and she's totally normal now there and has been for months. One back leg is still a bit odd. It works on a rough surface, skids a bit on a smooth one, but it's pretty good.
Will she ever be able to breed?
I think she would, very easily, and I think she'd breed well in captivity because she's very relaxed with people, and this is very important.
But where would you get a mate?
Well, to get one in England deliberately would be against the law, and Wales, of course. To bring one in deliberately from Scotland would also be against the law. So the only hope is that perhaps somebody someday may find another injured one, because we get about 200 injured things a year, not rare things like otters usually. So if an injured male is found, then Tarkina is very, very ready to meet him.
She evidently is relaxed with people most of the time anyway. She played up a bit during the interview.
Yeah.
But is she at all lonely without a mate?
She grew up with some American grey fox cubs, which we bred here, and they became very, very close friends of hers then as playthings, and she's still with them to this day, but she doesn't romp around with them so much. But they are definitely pleased to see her when she's been away like today, and she's very pleased to see them when she goes back. So she does have these rather strange companions who were very, very great playmates in her youth.
Could she ever be released back into the wild now? Would that work?
Well, the condition of the leg, I think, means definitely no. But even if the leg were quite normal, the answer to your question has to be what is needed is a very, very careful study on a whole vast range of animals that have come in this way as orphans. Can they be rehabilitated? And the answer must be no one really is sure. I personally believe a great deal more rehabilitations could take place than do.
Is that one means of making up for this deficiency? I mean, how are we going to save this species?
Well, our whole job here is breeding. We do more captive breeding studies than anything else. And our speciality, if you like, is to demonstrate that each parent can have many, many more babies in captivity than it ever could in the wild. For example, a kestrel lays 6 eggs in the wild, and the ones here, they're nearly all road accident birds, the ones here lay 30 eggs. A golden eagle in the wild lays 2, and the one here lays 6, and I think she could lay more. And with an otter in captivity, every baby she has should survive, whereas perhaps in the wild 1 or 2 won't. And if you're going to repopulate the wild, then I think captive breeding programs are the only answer. And putting back the odd injured one like this one, providing it recovers totally, are not going to do much good. But certainly one's looking at.
Graham, thank you very much.
Thank you.
As well as doing a lot of work on the conservation of wildlife, of course, Grahame Dangerfield is a filmmaker himself. And later this year, we hope to go back to Wheathampstead and have a longer chat with him. But to leave the last word with Tarka the Otter, it's getting something of a creeping release. At present, it's on view in London suburban cinemas and some cities outside London. But come the summer holidays, you should be able to catch it more or less wherever you live. Enjoy what's left of Easter, and be sure and join us next Monday when, at our usual time, 4:20, we'll be talking to Lionel Jeffries, the man who made the Railway Children. His new picture, The Water Babies, has just opened. Till next